Hello, welcome to Loremaster's Lair. I'm your Loremaster, here today to continue our walk through Tian Xia. While it's the continent we know the most about outside the Inner Sea region, most of the 26 countries we only have a one-page description of them. Something which the upcoming Tian Xia book will obviously change, but which re-examining everything before that point have to work with. The only two we have enough to create their own videos on at this point are Goka, which we already did, and today's topic, Minkai. Minkai is found on the eastern side of the Dragon Empires, the body of water which holds Dao, cutting it off mostly from the mainland. It's still connected to the force of spirits and from there to Hangul, but that just goes to show how unconnected the nation is from politics on the mainland, and that has never been a part of or even largely influenced by the empires which have touched every other nation. The rising and falling of Minkai is done by its own accord. History traces itself back to 26,000 IR, when Shizuru bestowed upon 5 families her blessings to rule the land. These 5 families are where the empires have come from ever since. The first kingdom of Minkai was founded 12 years later under the Taikoku shogunate. They expanded to cover the peninsula, but were cut off after failed expansions into the area known as the Forest of Spirits. The empire lasted until 6116 IR, when the uprising was made against the Taikoku by Setsuna Kuga, the perfect swordsman, and eventually razed the old capital. The kingdom of Minkai became the Empire of Minkai the next year. It was during this period that Minkai made many diplomatic overtures to its neighbors, rediscovered the path of Argon High, and suffered the rise and fall of the original iteration of the Golden League. Then things changed approximately 70 years ago. A group of Oni known as the 5 Storms worked behind the scenes to eliminate the 5 noble houses. They subdued all but the ruling Amaterasu, who managed to escape to the other side of the planet. Oni ruled for decades under the face of their Jade region, until adventurers worked to return the heir to a rightful realm, help reestablish noble houses, and slew the 5 Oni. Which leads up to now, with the nation having spent the last decade rebuilding. Traditionally, Minkai has been ruled by 5 noble families. The Sujinawa were the oldest family, and had strong connections to the spirits and were famed for creating many pieces of architecture. The Higashiyama were known as scholars and for the devout worship of Shizuru. The Sugimatu were those who focused most on the needs of the people. The warlike Taikaku were the descendants of the first emperors, and were traditionalists and isolationists. Finally, the Amaterasu were the most recent bloodline of the emperors, and were known for trade and exploration. Of course, most of these families were devastated by the 5 Storms, who replaced them with the tyrant known as the Jade Regent, who ruled in their stead. With the Oni and their puppet now disposed, attempts to restore the old families have taken place, but the success of such can only be known in the upcoming book. Navigating the regions, there are 8 provinces and 3 additional areas. Considering all the additional regions are clustered in the northeast on the opposite side of the nation from the capital, let's start there. Starting inward and going out, we have the Higashita coast, an offshoot of the Hyosai province, but the pact that the locals made with the kami lords of the Sesiragi forest have granted them some independence. In addition, they are known for the local artistry of depicting 114 forms of death. The Osagan grasslands is the northern edge of the empire, separating it from the forest of spirits. The people here are considered barbarians, but they are allowed to live here undisturbed as long as they do not make any moves on the south. The northeastern Ikaku Peninsula is scarcely populated, but is known for its mineral-rich springs often dedicated to deities like Desna, Qizong, and Kafusachi. Which brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where we acknowledge real-world symbols repurposed for fantasy. Today, we start with the deity Kofusachi, the Laughing God. Not the Laughing Buddha, of course, needs some distance from real-world inspirations. Kafusachi is a plump, bald man who is always smiling. A wanderer and a lover of many deities, both male and female, he is invoked at times when people wish for joy and prosperity, like the birth of a child, the closing of a business deal, and, of course, weddings. 8 provinces are each named after and ruled from the largest city. First, on the west coast, the side facing the mainlands, we start with Sakakabe, mostly a large mountain range and technically including the Osagan grasslands. The position is famed for its trade in silver and gold. It is also known for having an entertainment district second only to the capital, and the local Yakuza operating on a level of legitimacy. Enganoka, too, is a rich trade hub, though they are more focused on cereals, fish, and silk. That said, it's said that among all of Minkai, it is Enganoka which you can buy anything, legal or illegal. But while these two are known for trade, it is Akufato which is known for the second largest port. This province fared the best under the Jade Regent, and with its lumber industry it managed to maintain its wealth as well. This place is also known for the Jiumeyo School and the Ukisashi-ji Temple, a temple dedicated to Kufusachi. On the Edo coast, the only of the 8 cities on the east coast is Hiyosai. They are known for producing the copper for the nation's coinage and also have descendants from the lost city of Sangoshi. More on them later. Turning on the southern coast, we have Oda, the main producer of rice for the nation. It is known as a place where the most foreigners come and go to help with the fields, as well as being constantly plagued by bandits, pirates, and yakuza. Wanshi has based its economy on fishing over commerce. It is connected with the nation's military through the trade of horses, and attracts many tanuki with the production of various alcohols. Finally, we have Shogokabe, the main fishing port of the nation, home not only to the largest port in the nation, but also of various shrines to sea gods from throughout the world. Let us talk about one of those sea deities with side tangent number 2. Dagon. Yes, the Demon Lord. They are from all around the world, as I said. Dagon was once a Cliptoff Lord, but was one of them who was successful enough to gain the power of a Demon Lord. Now he is the Lord of deformity and sea monsters, ruling from the sunken city of Ugothanok in the abyssal sea of Ishio. I'm not going to say those names again. One of his favorite ways to gain followers is by sending his offspring to breed with mortals, creating deformed children. In more and more places, followers also breed with creatures like boggarts and sahugins. It should also be known that his name has been adapted by worshippers of some great old ones, like Cthulhu. While he himself is not a great old one, he does enjoy picking off the callers to bring into his own fold. Before we go to the 8th city, the capital, let's take some time to look at some of the landmarks in the area. We have 2 lost cities. The first is Udo, the regional capital, which is upstream from where Kasai currently is. It was raised during the fall of the First Kingdom. Angoshi, on the other hand, was an island city off the east coast, which was destroyed long ago, said to rise one day every 44 years. Speaking of islands, Gaito Island, just off the south, is known as a waypoint for pirates. There are 2 mountain ranges, the Kyoryujin, which goes through the center of the country, and the Kamifushi on the Ikaku Peninsula. Collectively, they have 3 volcanoes, which are known locally as the 3 Fires. The Maifushi Mountains also hold the legendary 7 Venom Springs, a spring of poison said to originate from the 7 Nagas buried beneath. Now to the capital of the country, Kensai. The city is built into the river it sits upon, allowing water to flow and crisscross the entire area with waterways. Let's go through the city piecemeal, shall we? First, on the northeast, on the shoreline, we have, of course, start with the slums, known as the reeds, where the outcasts, beggars, gamblers, and other lower class, or as known in Minkai, Hinin, people live. That said, the Jade Mantis Dojo finds itself right nearby. Also nearby, of course, is the Red Lantern District, where all of the brothels are found. As one follows the shoreline, however, they'll find more put-together residents. We have the famed Badger's Folly Bathhouse, but even this is not far from Yakuza control, with the Hitsugi Gumi main office not 5 miles from the bathhouse. However, their influence does peter out, and eventually we find places like the Rising Dragon Dojo and the Tortoise Federal Stables by the main land entrance. And also around here is the Monastery of the Thunderous Cricket, known for its sound-amplifying bell. Circling back to the northwest area, Ino Island serves as a lighthouse island, keeping eye on those who come in or go out to the sea. Then we have the Golden Ghost Pagoda, a monument to Setsuna Kasai in the city named after him, which desecrated graves within caused a massive haunting, and failed exorcisms made it worse, trapped in a tower between planes. I wonder if they'll fix that. Guess we'll see. Anyway, the Baku Theater is a Weiyang-run theater which performs different entertainment from across the continent. The Sorrowful Tiger Sake House is a favorite hangout to the local Ronin, and the Setting Sun Cemetery was a famed cemetery until the waterways installed separated it from the temple it was connected to, much to the residents' displeasure. Then the structure it was built next to, the Temple of the Sun's Blade, the city's largest temple, dedicated to Shizuru. That said, the land is also coveted by the worshippers of Yeizing, who have a temple just south of it, the Temple of Woe, which sets us up nicely for our third side tangent, Yeizing, the Minister of Blood. Yeizing appears as a humanoid made of shadows, with the head of a tiger. He is the god of murder and death, but also is the enforcer of divine judgment. This gives his worshippers a feeling of duality, having temples which are used to punish criminals, but also serve as murderers for hire. He is worshipped by judges and executioners, but also assassins and ninjas. When it comes to repaying repaying those who were wronged, the Minister of Blood is happy to see it done through official and unofficial means. Anyway, getting back, we ought to find ourselves in the cluster of temples in the southwest side of the city. Moving further south, we find the Tree of Souls, dedicated to Tsukio. Then across the river is one last dojo, the Flying Leopard Dojo, this one secretly affiliated with the Kusarigama. On the southern edge of town, we find both the Teardrop Tea House, a temple dedicated to Lady Nabayo, and the Fox's Grove, home to the city's high-class courtesans. And the Fox's Grove starts our entry into the southeast, where the royal palace sits. To the north of this area, just outside the walls, sits the Jedi Academy, the local arcane school, which is the best that money can buy, and money will be needed to buy it. Just within the castle walls sits the Imperial Gardens, the largest green space in the city, said to hold various unique fey creatures. And finally, we have the Imperial Palace itself, home of the Emperor and, for a time, the Jade Regent, for thousands of years. And that is Minkai. But that is not quite the end of today's episode. You see, we have a creature from First Edition which makes its home in the nation. Tanuki, which, considering what books are coming up, I think a look at how they're already presented is advised. Raccoon-like humanoids, often found intoxicated, they are more pranksters than anything, but have times when they can be spiteful. Tanuki are shapeshifters, mostly using their powers to hang around taverns and eateries in human disguises and change leaves into money so they do not have to pay. However, those that harm nature by overkilling or overlogging find their equipment turned into bowls and teacups. And those who are braggarts or full of themselves, they'll be taken down a notch. And those who are serious, well, they are the Tanuki's favorite targets. And that brings an end for today's episode. Soon we will have more nations to talk about, but that will be getting us to the end of next month. Still, have plenty of videos between now and then, of course. For now, next week, we'll be dealing with some of the monsters native to Tian Xia. Well, actually, the whole wide world, but they are a little more of a big deal here. See you then.